Hello friends, today we will answer the question regarding the reduction of off-chip memory access. Why and how? So first of all I will discuss in the because we have to reduce the off-chip access in deep neural network accelerators. Therefore we first introduce what deep neural networks are and how we have to process them. So first of all, uh, this slide is from my previous videos, uh, that you have to design a 2D systolic array and make two matrices like A and B and process them and obtain a convolution output as C. So just skipping this for now. So here is the image filtering example, or we can also say the basics of deep neural networks, in which we have a filter which is 0 1 0 0 1 0 1 0 1 and 0 1 0 and 0 1 0 1. This is having 5 ones and 4 zeros. So it is scrolled on the whole input feature map, or we can say input image, and we obtain this output. This is one way of having the convolution using the given filter. So uh, we scroll the filter on the same size patches of the image in the whole image in zigzag manner and obtain the outputs. So similarly, in this diagram we are showing you 3D representation of input, and we are convolving it and we are obtaining the output on the central pixel here. So similarly we move from left to right, then we come towards the bottom by having a stride of 1 in both cases, or we can say both options. So this is how we can calculate our 2D convolution, or if we have multiple filters and multiple input channels, so we can convolve a single filter over multiple channels, and we have similar, we can say, structure. That is, in brief, we can say this is the main convolution operation that have to be carried out in the deep neural networks. So because we have introduced the 2D convolution in the previous slide, so we will start with the image filtering for the main application, or we can say the first application of this convolution. If we scroll this filter in this whole image, this filter is having an average of 0. We can say 1 plus 1 minus 1 0 and 0 minus 1 plus 1 and 0. They all give an average of 0. Therefore dark pixel will be the mean pixel of this image and as the output. So when we convolve this image with this filter, so this filter will act as a we can say edge detection filter, which will give us some sort of edges depending upon how these ones and minus ones are arranged. So we can see that this this diagonal entries are higher, therefore we can have edges on the diagonal positions of the image. We are having more prominent features which are on the diagonal side. So similarly, in this image we have some sort of circular edges, so therefore we have a filter which is having the 0 we can say average, and it is converted with the input image, and it is also giving off some sort of edges to us, which are central edges, we can say central edges. And to make this image more sharp, we have enhanced the central pixel value to be higher, and the other pixels are very lower. So therefore this convolution, or we can say image filtering, can give you the edge detection with more sharp features. So similarly, we are having the same input image, and we are just changing or tuning the filter, and we are obtaining the drastically different results. So we have learned this filter, we have learned this filter or this filter or these filters to give us some sort of specific we can say edges or some specific outputs. So like in Photoshop, you have to paste many type of filters to obtain specific sharpening and we can say contrast of the image. So the idea is that these filters are visually learned by us, but in deep learning, in machine learning, we make many filters, we learn many filters from our input data set, and all these filters are learned by back propagation, and we have many filters to extract many features from an image. So as we have seen that we have almost 8 to 9 features obtained. We have obtained 8 to 9 features by applying multiple filters from this image. So our deep neural network will consist of many filters, and every filter will extract a specific information which is required or which is learned by nature from the input data and the ground truth, and it is this output is used for the next layers of by default. We can say we just have to make the algorithms, and we just have to make the algorithms for training and back propagation. These learns will automatically be these weights will be automatically be learned. So a convolution layer is just a weighted sum of input feature maps. A convolution layer consists of input feature maps, and they are convolved with the filters, some sort of filters, and every filter will give us a single output after the addition of after channel wise addition of their corresponding image filtering, or we can say 2D convolutions. These means if we have 3 channels here and this filter has 3 channels, so we will convolve every filter in the depth wise, and we will then add all the layers of the outputs, and we obtain this type of matrix over here as a output. And similar is the case for the next filters. So we call input feature map for the input data and output feature map for the output data, and the weights or filters or kernels are known as weights. We call them the weights, which are learned by the deep neural network. So a pooling layer is responsible to reduce the dimensions of output for the processing of next layer. uh, we 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 often require the output to be less, or we can have uh, prominent features highlighted, and so we perform pooling for that purpose. So there are two types of pooling. One is max pooling, and another is average pooling. So in max pooling we just have a maximum value from the given frame, and similarly in average pooling we just have the average value of the whole frame. So here we have max pooling of filter 2 by 2, and stride is also 2 here, and in this case we have stride 1, and the filter is pooling filter size is 3 by 3. So we can have many types of pooling, like we have in the convolution, with multiple slides and multiple filter size, depending upon our application. So a fully connected layer is mostly used for classification, because in convolution layers we obtain the features, and we use these features in the fully connected layers to decide to which class our input object was related, and we obtain the scores at the end of the convolution layers, and we can decide easily how we interpret the input image as an object of the given classes. So in these layers, convolution layers were connected by its neighborhood, but in case of fully connected layers we have to take the input from all the neurons, or we can say all the pixels of the previous layer. The fully connected layers are having the fully connected layers, they are the weights are learned in the fully connected layers and also in convolution layers by backpropagation. Backpropagation just divides the error of the class, and it translates equally in the whole architecture, or we can say whole network to it is connected. So the backpropagation is a separate topic. We will discuss it in later, or we can say we can have many videos on backpropagation on Google, or we can find any document, many documents in the Google. So a convolution layer is composed of multiple. A convolution neural network actually is composed of many convolution layers and pooling layers and fully connected layers. Like this linear network, it is composed of 2 convolution layers and 2 pooling layers and 1 fully connected layer. This is a linear 1. This is known as linear 1. It is having input image, and it is this image is passed through 2 convolution layers and 1 fully connected layer. And if these both convolution layer 1 and convolution layer 2, if they both are learned, or they have trained weights, so this 8 will be classified as the 0 to 9 index, means this will be 8 will be classified as 8 at the output. So we often use softmax activation after the classes to make them neat. Means if you have 0.99, it will be converted to 1, and we have other values to 0. It will give us a soft max value. 1 max will be returned. One max will maximum value will be 1, and other values will be 0. So these are the input sizes of input image And so this network is used for the classification of handwritten digits, and it can also be used for CIFAR 10 dataset classification or CIFAR 100 dataset classification. This is a basic network which was developed by Lee-Kohn. That's therefore for his name it is known as LeeNet. So for further detail, you can also see this paper by Lee-Kohn. You can search from Google easily about the LeeNet, and you can find any help from about this. Another is VGG16, yeah, or we can also say Visual Geometry Group Network. So it is developed for ImageNet dataset, which is having 2 by 2 or 22 or 2 to 4 class 2 to 4 class 3 input image as an input, and it generates multiple feature maps on many convolution layers, and it generates the classification of about 1000 classes. Means it can differentiate between 1000 classes. If this image is of the car, the major object is car, it will tell us the car, and if there is something else, it can classify it as another object. So there are 1000 classes of the objects, 1000 objects in specific data set, which is the ImageNet data set. So here we see increasing the layers. Increasing the layers makes us more comfortable, and we can find more accurate values of the or we can say more accuracy. We achieve more accuracy of the network if we increase the layers, and if we have more layers, we can increase the input resolution also. So therefore increasing the layers gives us less error or more accuracy. So here we can see the VGA16 has 7.3 top 5 error, and similarly increasing the layers we achieve less top 5 error. This is in general, this trend is general, not we can say maybe some networks with a smaller number of layers beat the accuracy, but this is a general trend that we are showing in this diagram. And to elaborate further, I have taken the accuracy on the y-axis and parameters, number of parameters on the x-axis, right y-axis, and the model size is greater if number of parameters are larger. And we can see from here that as we move on, accuracy is increasing, and our model size is generally increasing with the increase in accuracy. So if we require more accuracy, we have to process a larger network in general. So therefore the DNNs require a lot of computations and lot of memory, and because they have millions of parameters, and the millions of operations are required, or billions of operations are required to process them. So in case we have small on-chip memory for our DNN processor, or we can say DNN accelerator, we will require billions of memory accesses. So it will result in a large consumption of energy and power. So we have to develop hardware accelerators for deep learning, which are optimized from all sorts of angles, all types of angles, to give us an optimum solution for the porting of DNNs on the edge. So here is an example of edge devices, and we can say mobile GPUs or FPGAs or application specific integrated circuits, and that they have limited resources, and we have to port a larger networks and with efficiency, so that all the DNN is completely run or processed with minimum loss of accuracy and with minimum usage of energy. And we also require fast processing, so therefore we have many trade-offs in this acceleration of the DNNs. So therefore we perform design space exploration for this we can say to find optimum parameters for the hardware, and to port we should make hardware which is friendly for the DNNs. And another thing is DNN versatility. Versatility means that DNNs, such DNN, we should make such DNNs which are capable of running many applications rather than a single one. So we have to also, or we can also say, we have to make a single processor which is capable of adopting to multiple DNNs. In this case, we can we can save the cost of design of DNN accelerator for many or specific CNNs or DNNs. So energy efficiency in opposition to the AlphaGo, which was a deep learning based system, and a person. As compared to the person, it consumed means we can say thousands times more energy and power, so which is not efficient for us. So we have to devise some good processors, and we have to process some good methodologies which can have good efficiency in terms of energy and in terms of accuracy. So most of the operations in the DNN are, so we can say in terms of hardware accelerators, we see the DRAM transfer is most comprehensive and most we can say expensive for us. So we have to see for some solution which provides us minimum DRAM access. So for example, if we have this MAC unit which is multiplying and adding single input of input and filter and the partial sum, previous partial sum, and we are writing every data off chip, so we will require almost 62 GB of DRAM access volume, which is very energy efficient. Almost it is equal to 4000 joules of energy, estimated energy. So this DRAM access which is of 15.5 tera operations, it is very expensive, and if we increase MAC units, we divide this energy by the same we can say processing parallel processing values, and the design, if the design is more efficient, it can result in less energy. So our focus is why our focus is DRAM access, because if we design hardware for DRAM access, minimum DRAM access, and minimum uh, latency, so it is automatically optimized for energy and power. So therefore uh, another challenge, this was the first challenge, and another is the inference speed, because if we have input data and it is telling us that this is this is a cat after 10 minutes, then we can say that this is not a good model, because so therefore we require a model which is having more speed and which is having less energy consumption. So here are some examples of the inference time on CPU in milliseconds, and the network with lower inference is better for us. And we can see the ShuffleNet and SqueezeNet, they are light networks. They also have less off-chip memory access for us, for the same model if we compare them. So in the other cases, if we minimize off-chip access, we can also minimize the inference time. So we should ensure the efficiency and speed for minimum off-chip access volume. So here are implementation choices for us. We have GPUs, ASICs and FPGAs. We have built-in libraries for GPUs, and we can design multiple custom hardwares for FPGAs and ASICs, so that we can achieve our both challenges, which are of chip access volume and inference. So this is a typical CNN accelerator, which is based on systolic array, and it is having off-chip access, and it is having some on-chip buffers which are taking the data from off-chip memory and providing the converted values to the systolic array, the compute engine, and it is storing the values back to the on-chip buffers, and through on-chip buffer the data is going to the off-chip memory. So it requires a lot of optimization and lot of parameters which can provide us with a solution for CNN, and we can also achieve a speed, and we can also minimize the off-chip access volume if we optimize these architectures. So we will stop here today, and we will resume this presentation for the terminologies and other literature review in the next lecture, so that we should have a break